Hi Nursery and Reception, Miss Pickering here, and it's finally my turn to read you all a story today. So I chose to read you one of my favourite stories, and I really like this story because I think it's really funny. So I hope you really enjoy the story today too. So the title of this book is The Dinosaur That Pooped a Planet. And the authors of this book are Tom Fletcher and Dougie Pointer. The book was illustrated, so all these lovely pictures were drawn by Gary Parsons too. So on the back of the book, if we turn over, we've got what we call the blurb on here. So this tells us a little bit of information about the book just to see if we might like to read it. So it says on here, in space, no one can smell your poop. One boy, one space rocket, one very hungry dinosaur, and no sandwiches. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Shall we give it a little read and see what's going to happen? Let's have a look. Danny and Dinosaur like to have fun. Some days they had lots, some days they had none. So we've got Danny here and we've got Dinosaur over there. One day they were bored and had no games to play. Danny said, Dinosaur, what shall we do today? We could mow the lawn, we could tidy the place, we could do our chores, or we could go to space. But you mustn't forget to have lunch, said their mummy. You cannot have fun without food for your tummy. So they packed a packed lunch for the Science Museum, where rockets were kept if you wanted to see them. Sounds like a fun day. There were hundreds of rockets and spaceship surprises, tall ones and small ones of all shapes and sizes, and one that was ready to launch with a door big enough for a boy and his pet dinosaur. They ignored all the warnings, they couldn't care less. They pressed all the things they shouldn't have pressed. T minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition! They started their intergalactic space mission. I don't know if it's a good idea to press things that they shouldn't have pressed. They flew higher than houses and buildings and cranes, much higher than birds, even higher than planes. Wow, that's so high in the sky. We're in space! Danny yelled as they floated around, but the dinosaur's tum made a rumbling sound. Oh no, do you think he might be hungry? Is it time to have lunch? Danny looked at his watch. Then he looked all around from the dino's lunchbox. Danny started to worry, then started to panic. They'd left their packed lunches back home on their planet. They've left the packed lunches. I think they're going to be very hungry. Danny doesn't look very happy, does he? He looks a bit scared. So with no food on board, not the smallest of crumbs, a disastrous dinosaur feast had begun. It gobbled up gadgets and gizmos galore. Nothing was safe from the space dinosaur. Robots and ray guns and blinking red blinkers. Eating things up by NASA's great thinkers. The hyperdrive gamma reactor machine was swallowed along with the space tractor beam. He's eating the rocket that they're in. I don't know if that's a good idea. It chewed and it chomped on the spaceship controls. The rocket was dotted with dino tooth holes. Inside it was bare. The spaceship was empty. Outside there were more things to eat. There were plenty. It broke down the door with a cool ninja chop. Out in space, dinosaurs are much harder to stop. It chomped on the moon like a big chunk of cheese, then shoved even more in its mouth with a squeeze. It munched on the Martians from Mars and their cats. Their cats are like ours, but their cats wear cool hats. Satellites, Saturn, and 6 supernovas. shape-shifting saucers, and 7 space rovers. He's eaten a lot now, hasn't he? If you can see on the picture here, you can see the space cats with the cool hats. It guzzled 5 gallons of fuel from the tank, and Danny's jaw dropped as he watched what it drank. With a crunch and a crack and a nom nom nom, in one dino gulp, their rocket was gone. Nothing was left. All Danny could see was a fat dinosaur where the rocket should be. And so they were stranded with nowhere back home, just Danny and Dino in space all alone. He's got very big now, isn't he? He's eaten lots and lots. Now Danny was crying. He cried and he cried. He cried and his tears filled his spacesuit inside. Unless they were going to stay here forever, the dinosaur needed to do something clever. With the feeling of guilt deep down in its gut, its brain brewed a plan involving its butt. It knew there was only one thing it could do to get them back home. It needed to poo. Like a poop-powered rocket, the dinosaur flew. Dan hopped on his back and he watched as it pooed. It pooped out the robots and ray guns and blinkers. The things NASA's thinkers thought up were now stinkers. It pooped out the moon, it pooped out the stars, it pooped out the space rovers and Martians from Mars. When Danny looked back, he could see a poop trail from far out in space to the dinosaur's tail. They headed for Earth and they started to orbit. It pooped on the clouds, but the clouds just absorbed it. Oof, that's a big poo trail, isn't it? They flew past the buildings and streets of their town, leaving the houses all smelly and brown, and finally landed back on the ground. Hooray! Danny cried. We are home, safe and sound. They looked to the sky, and the things that were pooed had formed a poop planet right next to the moon. It's just there, see? And so Danny promised to listen to his mummy, because fun is not fun without food for your tummy. And just when you thought all the pooping was done, a Mars cat plopped out of the dinosaur's bum. I hope you enjoyed that story today. I really like that one because I think it is really funny. I think the dinosaur's really funny in that story. So it is Friday today, everybody. So I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and we absolutely can't wait to have you all back in school on Monday. I know all the teachers have missed you all so much, so we can't wait to see you all. So have a lovely time. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you later. Bye.